So I was in the gym today, and I had the genuine fucking thought, like, damn, UFC 309 was mid as hell, dude. Just random thoughts, right? And I was thinking, like, damn, last year the card with, like, the Benoit Saint Denis, Diego Lopez knockouts, and, like, Alex Pereira and Prohashka, like, that, Aspinall and Pavlovich, that was last November to now. I'm like, damn, I know not every card, like, can be better the year before to now, but, like, the comparison was wild, and I just thought of doing this idea, like, let's fucking go through the 2023 pay-per-views and the 2024 pay-per-views, and let's compare, see which year was better, because I feel like last year was really fucking good, at least from memory, but I guess we're gonna see. I know UFC 310 hasn't happened yet, but fuck it, it's one pay-per-view. Alright, I know that December pay-per-views usually go well, pretty big cards usually, but we're just gonna do January through November. So just starting off, we have UFC 283, Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira versus 297, which was Sean Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. We're gonna go to war. We're gonna bleed for you people. Fucking, oh, it was the Canada card too, where Canada went like 0-10 or some insane shit. But and then Duplessis versus Strickland. Yeah, that was actually a really good fight. But just comparing main event to main event, yeah, I mean Jamal Hill's performance was really impressive. Glover Teixeira is a good name to have on a resume, especially in a title fight. But it's just like DDP versus Strickland was a really good fight. Was it like a top 10 of the year? No, not by any means. But, like, it served its purpose as, like, a good main event. Co-main, Figgy versus Moreno. Was that, like, 4? Was that the quadrilogy? As the co-main versus Pennington versus Bueno Silva. Figgy versus Moreno, too. That was a fucking good fight as well. So, like, whole quadrilogy, to be honest, actually, like, it kind of got a bit old at this point, especially, but, like, full of good fights, to be honest. But, like, Neil Magny fought both of these cards, lost to Gilbert Burns in 23, and then in 24 he beat Mike Mallet, which was shocking and destroying parlays, and was fucking, it was depressing but hilarious. It was deprarious, dog. That's what I'm gonna fucking call it. Johnny Walker knocked the fuck out of Paul Craig, light heavyweight bout for 283. And then also in the prelims, all finishes by, like, Bruno Ferreira had a brutal knockout. Tego Moises actually got a fucking win. Both the Bonfim brothers were on this card. And dude, Ismael Bonfim had one of the nastiest fucking knockouts of 2023. The entire year against Terrence McKenna. It was absolutely brutal. So there were a lot of finishes on this card. When you're talking, even Jelton Almeida was on the early prelims at this time. He got a round 2 knockout. Like, UFC 283 from early prelims to main card, because we're judging the whole card, right? It was actually really good. A lot of finishes, and the main card delivered. Now, 297, not only was the whole, like, I mean, I'm not even a Canadian, all right? But it was just sad to see them all lose. It was all of them, all right? There was a lot of decisions on this card, a lot of pitter-patter fights. Like, yeah, the main event was good, but the co-main was weak as fuck, especially in terms of just the build-up and trying to get excited for the card. Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev was a good fight, don't get me wrong, but overall, 283 is superior on this one. I feel like by a good majority. It's a big gap. Up next, we're going to be comparing the February cards. We're doing 284 from 2023 and 298 from 2024. Both of the headliners were Alexander Volkanovski, but very different outcomes, very different vibes. Yeah, that Volkanovski lost both these, but, you know, one of the best fights of the year against Islam Makhachev, and arguably Volkanovski won. I personally thought Islam had a 3-2, but still, man, that was a great fight. And then the year later, Topuria fucking knocking him out cold. Say what you want about the quick turnaround, which it was, but at the end of the day, seeing especially what Topuria did to Holloway, it kind of makes you go like, damn, was he going to do that to Volk anyways? And this is coming from a guy, dude, like, look, dude, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I only have one shirt for a fighter, just a UFC fucking shirt, and it's for Volkanovski. All right, my favorite fighter, genuinely, but dude, this was a brutal finish, and Topuria is just building up already like an undeniable title run. So it's just crazy. But we had Whitaker and Costa in the co-main for 2024, which was a good fight. Gary versus Jeff Neal was kind of lackluster. Marab versus Cejudo, kind of just domination from Marab in rounds 2 and 3. But one was pretty fun. Anthony Hernandez getting the sub over Roman Kopylov was pretty fucking sick. But what I will say about both these cards, I feel like the prelims were pretty weak. You know, some finishes here and there, but overall, especially in terms of like name value, not too much. In terms of 2023, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett as a co-main, like, it was a fun fight. But in terms of like build up, and it was a not random ass interim title fight because it made sense, because if Volk, beat Islam and he decided to like stay at lightweight, then that would make sense for having an interim champ. But just, I feel like the fact that it was Yair and Josh Emmett, like Volk had already cleared out the division at that point, so it just didn't make sense. These were just the two fucking guys that he didn't fight yet. JDM getting a nice sub over Randy Brown, Justin Taffa getting a sick knockout, Jimmy Crew and Alonzo Menafield, pretty bizarre, ending in a draw. But overall, dude, I mean, both these cards, the main cards, were pretty solid. Prelims, I'd probably give it about the same kind of vibe. But like, I'm gonna go with 2023 UFC 284 on this one. Both these cards. Wait, no, yeah, this card was in Sydney, by the way, which just I feel like Sydney is a pretty sick crowd. Maybe it was in Perth, but someone with the Aussies. And yeah, 298 was a pretty good card. Don't get me wrong, but like, I'm just going to go with 2023 on this one. So in terms of the March cards, both of them were actually pretty fucking stacked. We had 285 versus 299. John Jones returning versus Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto Vera 2. Dude, 299 was fucking stacked. I mean, they saw that the pay-per-view was kind of mid with this fight against Sterling, and the card just didn't go great. It wasn't a great lineup to begin with. So they needed a bit more hype around him, so they just stacked the fuck out of this card. But they also stacked the fuck out of the Jones card. We had Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jeff Neal on that one, which was one of the best fights of the year. Personally, one of my just favorite fights in general. It was really fucking good. Jones obviously getting the submission over Gain, aging more poorly every month that passes, but honestly, dude, at the time it was pretty fucking hype. It was pretty hype. Matus Gamrot and Turnit, that was kind of a fun, like, kind of back and forth fight. Bo Nickel getting the round 1 sub over Jobber. Jamie Pickett, it is what it is. Cody Garbrandt getting a win was something. Duplessis versus Brunson was pretty fun. This is when Duplessis' gas tank was just pretty atrocious. So I don't know. And there were some other highlights, like Marc-Andre Barrios. He got a nice knockout. Like there were highlights on this card for sure. It was pretty good, but in my opinion, 299. I'm just gonna give it to 299, man, because the prelims were just, I feel like, just clearly superior, and also the main card delivered. Poirier and Saint Denis was insane. O'Malley and Vera was pretty fun. MVP versus Holland was also a good fight. JDM getting a fucking brutal knee knockout over Gilbert Burns. Petr Yan back in the win column. The title run starts now. Like, it started then. Song Yadong, like, and the prelims as well were absolutely stacked. So 299, even though the 2023 card is admittedly really good and would beat most cards from this year, I'm going to be giving it to 299 on this one. It was really good. So moving on to the April cards. Comparing the April cards. So it's going to be hard to compete because we're dealing with UFC 300 from 2024 side, which I really don't have to say much about because arguably, if not the greatest card of all time, if not at least one of the best, top to bottom. So 287 though from 2023 was actually really good. Burns versus Masvidal wasn't the best fight, but nice build up. Herrera and Adesanya, the rematch, absolutely insane. The intensity in the air. Rafael getting a crazy KO over Adrian Yanez. Holland getting a round 3 finish over Santiago Ponzinibbio. C-Rod, kind of, I don't want to say fraud checking Rosas Jr., but giving Rosas Jr. his first loss, and C-Rod is just apparently the king of shutting down fucking prospects. So prelims, nothing too crazy, but honestly, it was a really good card. Honestly, really solid, especially on the main, but UFC 300, you just can't compete with it. So the score is 2-2 right now, going into May. So I will say for both these May cards, not the best. If we're comparing like each year individually, this is definitely on the weaker end of the spectrum. We have Sterling and Cejudo for 288, and then we have UFC 301, Pantoja versus Usyk. Sterling and Cejudo, it was an alright fight, alright scrap, but Pantoja and Usyk was a pretty good fight. So the main event was pretty superior on that. And Aldo versus Martinez was a good co-main. That was a fun fight. And then Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. That was that. So I'm going to be giving this one to UFC 301. UFC 301, going into it, didn't have the most hype, especially because Usyk was really trying to build up his stock. But honestly, the card delivered. It was pretty good. I mean, especially for what it was. Like, Michel Pereira had a sick finish, and this was fraud check for him. Anthony Smith just absolutely ruined everybody's fucking parlays, beating Vito Bertrino. Kai Baralho had a sick knockout over Paul Craig. So even the prelims, like, I think the prelims were superior for 301 as well. So this one, again, it seems pretty clear to me. It's like 288, pretty weak card overall. So I'm going to be giving this to 301. So we're going to be going 2 and 3 so far. So going on to the June cards. Really, dude, we're continuing the trend of kind of just weak cards. We have 302, Makhachev versus Poirier, which was honestly one of the best fights of the year. That was a great scrap, but the card itself was just weak. There was nothing, barely any finishes. The co-main was absolutely disappointing. Some highlights, I guess, like the Kevin Holland submission was fun, but other than that, just a very dull card. Not much on here. And then we have fucking 2023 not doing any better. Oliveira versus Dariush obviously was cool as hell. But, like, what are some of the other highlights here? Because it's like a Nunes main event, and at that, it wasn't a good one. Fucking Irene Aldana, all respect to her, God bless. But it's just like, Dan Ige, Nate Landwehr, these are the highlights we're dealing with, you know? Marc-Andre Barrios versus Eric Anders. You know, it's fucking a Mike Mallet win, submission, whatever the fuck, is being one of the highlights of the card. Top to bottom is not a good sign. But overall, I don't even know what to give it to. I really don't like either of these cards, to be honest. They both were not good. Fucking hell, I actually have no idea on this one. I'm going to give it to 302 because although the Charles Oliveira finish was sick, Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier was like just such a really good fight. And just the moments on the main card of that one were just better. The prelims were just fucking mid as hell for both, in my opinion. So is the score 2-4 now? Holy shit. Okay. So moving on to July. This is gonna be a tough one because we're going 290. We're doing 290 versus 304. Both these were actually really good. I'm not gonna lie. 304 personally was probably my other than UFC 300, and maybe I'm forgetting some, but 304 was probably my favorite card so far this year. Oh no, I'm forgetting about 308. 308 was fucking amazing, but 304 was really up there, man. Like, it was a great card. Sucks for the people there live, obviously. Like, the main event was going off at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., so God bless y'all. That is fucking awful. But I mean, Tom Aspinall, Paddy Pimblett getting sick finishes. Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze was alright scrap. So the main card was pretty good. The RoboCop fight was kind of just alright, but like the main card delivered for 304, and then the main card for 290 though. I mean, Pantoja Moreno was one of the best fights of the year. Duplessis getting the insane upset knockout over Whitaker. Volkanovski getting the win over Yair Rodriguez, which many expected, but it fucking delivered, man. People forget, man. But Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner also having one of the best fights of the year. And Bo Nigel getting a great finish over Val Woodburn. So I'm going to be going with UFC 290, the prelims on 290 as well. Robbie Lawler, Tetsuro Taira getting good wins, especially Lawler, man. Alonzo Menafield as well. Like, there were good wins for the prelims. 304, though, had solid prelims as well. I know that the Mohamed Mokaev fight was a big fucking bummer, obviously. The prelims, I feel like, were superior for 290, and the main card was as well. Edges it out, but 304 was great. But I'm going to be giving it to 290 on this one, making the score 3-4. I did not mean to rhyme it. It's fucking lame as hell. Up next, we're going to be doing 292 versus 305. Just immediately off the bat, y'all, I'm going to be giving this one a 305, so the score is what, like 3-5 now. So, I mean, the Aussie card, it was really fucking good. Duplessis versus Adesanya was a great main event. The co-main, good knockout, although brutal to many fucking parlays and hearts. Dan Hooker Gamrot, one of the best fights of the year. Again, dude, Dan Hooker's fucking, he's one of the BMFs, dude. People forget, man. But Rosenstruck and Tuivasa, admittedly not one of the best fights in the world, and seeing Tuivasa lose again is depressing. But Carlos Pratt's getting a sick knockout over Li Jinliang. So the main card for 305 was fantastic. But then, on the contrary, for 292, O'Malley, good knockout over Sterling. Great for a resume, don't get me wrong, but like, it's just, that was pretty much just the whole highlight of the card. Like, Gary versus Magny was just kind of very bizarre build up, and the fight was just bizarre, bizarre win. Weili Zhang, dude, don't get me wrong, like, you guys, I don't talk about WWMA a lot on my channel, or frankly really at all. I'm just gonna be honest, but the one female fighter, man, I get excited for her fights. I root for her is Zhang Weili. Like, I fuck with her, and she just absolutely dominated Amanda Lemos. It broke some kind of record, maybe for ground strikes, it was something like that, but it was absolute domination. Then its own right was entertaining, but other than that, dude, not a lot in this card. I mean, Cheeto Vera and Pedro Munez had a pitter-patter sesh. Batista versus Damone Blackshear. So just the main card alone for 305 absolutely blew it out of the water. The prelims for 292, yeah, some nice finishes here and there in the early prelims, and the prelim, it just wasn't that much. 305 just had pretty solid prelims, not only name-wise, but just kind of delivered. So I'm going to be giving this one to 305. I will say, though, the Junior Tafa fight ending was pretty fucking bizarre. It kind of left you with some question marks going into the main card. But still, just moving on now to the September ones, we're going to be doing 306 versus 293. That was the Australia card for 2023, or one of them. I think they got it twice. Holy shit. But I'm going to be giving this one to 2023. The Sphere card, the fact that it was in the Sphere was super fucking cool. The production actually lived up to the hype, in my opinion. I thought it was really good. Very well presented. I wish that the card just would have been better, though. I think like John Anik was saying this, like, imagine like a 307 or a 308 card, something like that, but like in the Sphere. Absolutely would have been insane. Better for sales. The experience as a whole just would have been better, but it is what it fucking is, man. The card was just, yeah, delivered in terms of visuals and the experience, but just a lot of the fights were just kind of especially like the main and the co-main was pretty depressing. Don't get me wrong, some really good fights on 306. Ortega versus Lopez was really fun. Esteban Ribovics versus Daniel Selhuber was absolutely one of the fights of the year. It was amazing. The Ode Osborne versus Ronaldo Rodriguez fight was actually pretty fun as well, but Again, some highlights on the prelims, like the Joshua Van fight was pretty fun, especially the second round. But just overall, 293, I'm going to give the edge to Volkov getting the sub over to Ivasa, Benel Cop, and the fucking promo. Strickland's huge upset over Adesanya. Justin Tafa's knockout. Tyson Pedro's knockout. Like, I think 306 was solid. I think the main and co-main and like some of the prelims really killed the hype in terms of like under delivering the card, which is why I'm going to give this to the 2023 one, because in terms of the actual fights itself, all right, not just the vibe of the pay-per-view, I think the 2023 one was just superior. And again, the Strickland fight, was it the most like entertaining besides the first round? No, but watching it live was just, the energy was crazy. So 2023 is going to be getting another one. I think the score is 4-5, but I could be wrong. You're going to see it on your fucking screen. So moving on to October. This is tough because 308 was just if not for 300 and possibly 310, we're going to see how that one goes, but it's hard to compete with 308. So I'm going to be giving it to 308 in this one, but 294, both of these were obviously the Abu Dhabi cards, or Saudi. No, it's Abu Dhabi, but 294 was a great card in its own right. The main event, Volkanovski getting finished, was pretty fucking sad, not going to lie, and seeing Usman lose as well was pretty rough, but that was a good fight. Magomed and Johnny Walker ending in a no contest, though hurt. Ikram Aliskerov got a nice KO. Said Nurmagomedov, got an alright sub, and like the prelims were pretty meh for 294 in terms of just the names and the performances itself. So 308, top to bottom, was just an absolutely amazing card. Like genuinely, first fight to last, a lot of good submissions, a lot of good fights. I know there was the one Renat Fakhretdinov robbery, but that was, I feel like, just the low point. Other than that, it was great. So 308 is superior, and I'm going to give 2024 another one. So moving on to November now. These are the last ones we got. So like I said at the start of the video, this is what inspired me, this comparison, to just talk about this shit in general, because 295 was the best card of the year. It was insane. I know the main event got canceled, and it would have been a lot more fitting in 2023. Well, really, it would have been a lot more fitting in 2021. We all know this, but the Jones-Stipe fight happening even later obviously just fucking hurt it, and it hurt the card. 309 did have some highlights, but just like a 5 out of 10, man. All right, in terms of just rating it, because it was just a mid as fuck card. I feel like about it just as like neutral as you get. And 295 was full of finishes, and absolutely absurd ones at that. It was insane. The super high energy, the crazy highlight reels, the main and the co-main were absolutely ballistic. The prelims, don't get me wrong, just kind of meh for 295. Some highlights, like the early prelims actually had some good spots, but still 309, just underwhelming going into it. A very confusing and underwhelming, once again, main event. I feel like the only thing that people were genuinely like excited for this card was like Marcus McGee versus Jonathan Martinez and Oliveira versus Chandler. And 295 had just like, a lot of unknown names. 309 definitely had more recognizable ones, but just the fights didn't fucking deliver. And 295's did. So gonna be giving this one a 23. So overall, the score is... So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I actually fucking forgot what the total score is. I'm not going to lie. It's got to be 5-6 or 6-5. So at least I think. You're going to see it on your screen. You're going to know it. I'm going to sound fucking mental. But yeah, this is it. So either which one it is, I don't know if 24 or 23 is superior. But the point is, to me at least, my dumbass not knowing the fucking score, it's pretty even. So I guess it is kind of a coin flip. And again, this is just my preference alone. You guys could argue otherwise. And speaking of, leave your opinions in the comments below. I would love to fucking hear it. We're here to talk MMA. So it is interesting to just compare the two, because 2024 has had high highs, but it has had low fucking lows. And to be honest, I mean, I should have kind of, maybe I was kind of overshitting on the 2024 pay-per-views going into this, because I was aware that there were really good cards for the pay-per-views at least, but I just feel like the fight nights, especially in all of them being in the Apex and shit, I know 2023 had them as well, but just the fight nights I feel like made the year so much more worse, kind of just thinking about it in general, than 2023 was. But the pay-per-views, I guess they're about even. You can go back and forth, so they both had their highs and they both had their kind of weak spots. But yeah, it's just comparing the two, and like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. All the Smoke MMA. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you for giving me the time of day, man. And we're almost at 500 subscribers. Appreciate you guys a lot for that. So, gonna be doing a UFC 310 predictions video soon, doing the full card, top to bottom. So, see you guys then. Appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you next time.